All right. Okay. Hello and welcome to another Beat Review live stream. Welcome to the thing. This is what it is. It's gonna be cool. So, had to run the intro twice and, try to do a few things. Didn't really work out, but whatever. Hi and welcome. Right now, my headphones are a little bit loud. That feels better. Cool. Hello, people. What's up? It's been 2 weeks since the last episode of Beat Review, and we're back in the house with another episode. Now, we need to figure out a new way to do this entire thing. I haven't gotten around to fix it up this time, but next time, in 2 weeks, it's going to be different when it comes to submission and how you guys submit the beats, because I'm too nice of a guy. I'm realizing that I'm way too nice of a guy, and I don't need to be that nice. And I gotta constrain myself. I gotta set some boundaries and some limitations and whatever. So we're doing that. Not today, but in the future. I'm not doing the beat review stream longer than 2 hours. Okay? It's gonna be 2 hours long, nothing more, nothing less. And I'm gonna play as many beats as I'm gonna be able to do. And you're gonna have to submit when the show starts again. Not this entire thing like sending a beat a day ahead or whatever. No, none of that. Today we're gonna be a little bit loosey-goosey and do a little bit of whatever. Fine. But next episode in 2 weeks, we just gotta make stuff a little bit more concise, a little bit, just need to change it up and not be that loosey-goosey about it. Because I know you guys want to be played and I want you guys to be played and whatever. Gotta be realistic. Put it in the box. Whatever. Hello, people. Welcome. We have some of the regular recurring guests, which is always good to see. Always. We have people like Benjamin Buttons, Artisan, Made So Well, Dirty 1200, Klangstrom, Atmosphere, Long Beats. Let's go! Yeah, let's go. JRC Beats. We have Sivinus Usnare, something like that. Icon 74 is in the building. A lot of people I kind of feel like I know by now, but also a few new and fresh, beautiful, smiling, frowning faces. A lot of names, a lot of people. I like that. Appreciate it a lot. It's cool. Hello from France. Hello back to you from Sweden. It's cool. And that camera is not very fastly secured. Accurate. What is that keyboard? Okay, you're talking about this. Yeah, it's not supposed to be there. I needed to. This is. I'm not sure what this is. If anyone knows and can help me out, it just says MC. Right there. It just says MC5A. There's no maker, there's no manufacturer, nothing. It's just that. MC5A portable electronic keyboard. Got this one for about $18 a few days ago. It's a toy keyboard. It's not much to brag about, but it's going to be cool. I'm going to use it for making some samples for an upcoming episode of the Beat Review show. Because it actually is, it's better than you think. It has a built-in vibrato, which is not bad, Session expired, fuck you. It's a toy keyboard from, I don't know, 80s, 90s, something like that. And it has a mini jack output. And also right and left aux output. I don't know. Just cool. It also has drums, and you can actually kind of sequence drums on it, program how in which order you want them to be played, and then change the whatever. That's not what we're here for. We are here for the Beat Review Show. If you haven't been here before or you don't know what I'm talking about, Accurate Beats, live show every other week, beat review. Me listening to beats from people in the community, people in the chat room, people like you and me. We're playing the beats, we're giving some feedback, that kind of stuff. That sort of stuff. And there, we're getting some beats right now too. So awesome stuff. What I did here before was I started making a list of the producers we're going to play to have that somewhere here on the screen, and I failed. It took me too long. It became a little bit of a hassle, and then I had to start. So I'm doing something like that for the future. It's going to be different, but today it's going to be whatever you're used to. We're not going to be able to play all the beats that I've gotten today, and in the future I'm going to have a system that says who's going to be played, So if you're not on the list, you're not going to be played. That's just what it is. It's not up and running for today, so we don't really know. But if you send me a beat and you're not going to be, there's no guarantee. I'm not going to play everything. That's just what it is. Just so you know. Just so you know. 1, 2, 3. We might actually be able to go through a lot of them, but not all of them today. That's what it is. But if you want to send a beat to the show, it's right up there. Just a normal email. Send me a file or maybe a link to a downloadable file. I don't want SoundCloud links and stuff like that. Actual files sent to beatreview@accuratebeats.com. Now, I've talked too much. I've talked enough. Which means let's dive into the first submission for today. Right? Are we ready to start playing some stuff, listening to some submissions? Oh, the first one hasn't been here before. It's a new one. What'll you cook us today? I won't cook anything. This is a beat review. You guys aren't doing the cooking. I'm just doing the tasting. And the first submission for today comes from someone called DJ Ak1 or AK1. Hey, first time submission. Here is an instrumental I made strictly on my iPad using the Koala sampler. Let's have a listen. Sorry, MPC. Well, I think Akai is doing just fine nonetheless. Koala sampler is one of those crazy powerful pieces of software. Running on the iPad is not a bad setup. I've never been much of a fan of it, but that's because I'm strange. I love my iPad for drawing, but music making, it's not what I use my iPad for. So let's see if we have the audio routed. Maybe, maybe not. It's always 50-50 chance. Can't even play the file. I can. You did not hear that. Hold on. I'm gonna go into the VLC. Properties. VLC. Restart capture. I can't click it. Oh, I never thought this would happen. VLC is actually not working. VLC. Okay. No. Please don't be like this. Okay, let's end the application. Force quit, yes. Count to 10 really quickly. Relaunching VLC. There we are. Okay. Play it back twice. Okay, hold on. I know how to fix this. I normally do, but I can't click restart capture. Why the freak not? Okay, let's remove it. Yes. Let's add it. Sorry about this, guys. Hold on, you're gonna have to be patient. Mac OS audio capture. VLC. VLC 2. Fine. Application audio. VLC. Okay. Now, let's go again and see if it works. It does. Now. So, cool. It works on all of them. But it's really loud in my headphones for some reason. Gonna have to check that. But I'm gonna do that as the beat plays, so whatever. This is the first beat from DJ AK1 made on the iPad on GarageBand. No, that's not even true. It's made on the Koala Sampler app. Let's go. Yeah, that's the first submission for today. So my volume on here is a little bit strange. I'm way too quiet and the music was way too loud. It doesn't affect you, I think. If the audio is okay, please tell me and whatever. If it's not okay, please tell me that too, for sure. Now, the first submission for today from someone who hasn't submitted anything before, made on the iPad in Koala Sampler. Good job. Straight up. Good job. Like this. I mean, there's things that could be said about the repetitiveness and, you know, it's not that many different elements going on. And I'm not going to say that, hey, it's made on the Koala Sampler, so you can't. I know you can. It takes a lot of effort. Someone like me, for something like this, I would love to see kind of a clear, obvious, melodic, harmonically working full bass line underneath all this. The groove of the drums with the sloppy hi-hats and everything makes it really nice and vibey, and it's straight up just punchy and cool. A bass line to go with all those samples, some of them are pretty high frequencies, high-pitched samples. A deep bass line that just fills up the space with some obvious notes going like back and forth. I think that would add something. Is it super easy in Koala Sampler to find the right pitch and add notes like that? No, it's not. It's possible. Instead, you use the bass line from the actual sample. I do acknowledge that, and I think that's a kind of cool thing. But wouldn't it be kind of cool to also have a proper bass line? Maybe, maybe not. It's a nice pattern. It's a nice kind of melody and everything. It has what it needs, but someone like me would want to see it go a little bit further. A B section, a bass line that could change up over the different sections, something like that. There's still a little bit of dynamics in it. You're dropping out on the drums sometimes and doing this entire build-up going back. For a rapper, I think this would be just right as it is. But I'm thinking about beats as instrumentals more than as rap beats. So I think you could cram a little bit more in there. But it's also a matter of style and personality and subjectivity, I would like something more just because I can obviously hear that there's space. But you don't necessarily have to. It could be minimalistic or not even minimalistic, just the way it is. Full enough for a rapper to kind of fill the space. Good job, and thanks for sending it in. I mean, you can go crazy here and talk about the amount of swing on the hi-hats contra the swing on the kicks. But I think it's a cool thing. I think you did something good here. There are bass notes in there. It's not that I'm not noticing the bass notes, but I want more of them and a proper kind of bass line melody. I think that could add something. Increasing the microphone just a little bit for me. If it's too loud, tell me. But yeah, of course, everyone says it, and I totally agree. Nice drums, for sure. A snare drum like that always kind of snaps. That's cool. Maybe a different section and maybe a bass line. The drums, super cool. The choppiness of the samples, super cool. I can see this one in front of me on the iPad, on the Koala Sampler app, going like, it's cool. It's 2 minutes and 10 seconds, which is perfectly fitting for this little situation we got going. DJ Ac1. I don't know if it's Ac1 or AK1, but there we are. And that was actually the first one. So let's keep at it. Let's move into the next submission from Atmosphere. Hope all is well. It is. Didn't have the most exciting day at work, but yeah. It's all good. This is an instrumental I wanted to share with you guys. I took a stem sample and I took a stem sample I ran into and created the entire... Okay, my bad. I took a stem sample I ran into and created an entire track around it. The bass and most of the melodies are played by me, except from the complex piano riffs. I wanted the track to sound vintage and full of depth. As usual, I'm not a mixing engineer, but I do the best I can. Hope you enjoy. Yeah, none of us are mixing engineers, as far as I know. But Atmosphere all kind of always makes good sounding stuff. Atmosphere, submission 2 for today. Let's freaking go.
Atmosphere.
Okay, so the beat is low. This cam is super quiet. Okay, I switched the camera and it's super quiet. My bad. Gonna have to check that. Okay. Okay, there's an obvious difference between the two scenes. I'm sorry about that. I think I know what to do. Yes, I added it. Okay, my bad. It needs to have the same latency, and it needs to have 18 dB boost. Not that one though. Okay, my bad. This is gonna take me a second, guys. Hold on. So on that one, VLC. My bad, 16 dB. Okay, 16 dB. I was not prepared for this, but whatever. And just because this camera also feels like we could do it. Okay, let me try this again. That's one. That's two. That's three. That should be the same on all of them. Is that the same on all of the different cameras? Same level. Cool, thanks. They match now. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. That's cool. Thank you. I only think it makes sense to start from the beginning.
Atmosphere.
cool stuff. Yeah, that's Atmosphere. Someone we've had on the show a lot, and he always makes really good stuff. This is not an exception. This is really good. What did you say in your email? What everything is short, but yeah. I wanted the track to sound vintage and full of depth. I think you did it. It sounds vintage and full of depth. I couldn't have said it better. Now, of course, we can always go into the different frequencies, and I could say something like, I want you to push some of the higher frequencies a little bit more, but that's, that's me splitting hairs and being kind of an asshole about it, which I don't need to be. I don't know why I just said that. Forget about that. Now, having distinct different sections in a track like this really helps. It really benefits a lot to the overall everything, You did a great job, and I much prefer the entire thing with the horns and stuff, with the more extravagant kind of piano thing. Both of the different patterns are really good. I just happen to prefer that one over the first one that came in on the track. It's super loud on my headphones, so I need to fix this. But yeah. Good stuff. A lot of cool variation in it. The only thing I could imagine being added here is like a proper, an 8-bar section with some kind of top line played on top of it. Like a solo, a melody kind of thing, some sort of instrument, a synth, or some strings or whatever, that just plays some kind of figure on top of it all to make it even more flowy and nicer. But you have so much stuff going on here. The drum programming is really cool too. It's kind of straight up, but it's also kind of complicated and a lot of ghost notes and stuff. Yeah, great stuff, hands down. Sure, since I'm listening to it in mono, I'm not getting the full depth of it, but that's just being me. I'm just sensing an overall good track, an overall good mix. Things could always be tweaked a little bit back and forth, but you know how it is, right? We all do. Sometimes you just have to make up your mind and just decide on something, and I think you made a lot of good decisions on this one. For sure. Definitely think so. And the way, Jesus, freaking volume, kind of crazy. The way you're switching between one kick drum and a whole different one, I rarely do that myself, but it's really effective. And that's one of the minor things that makes this entire track as dynamic and dramatic as it is. Because you're switching from this really tinny, nothing pretty much being filtered in kind of kick drum, and then this full boom, boom, boom kick. Together with that bass line, it's difficult to find the balance. I think you did it well. Atmosphere, this is good stuff. As always, Atmosphere always never fails to perform, never fails to deliver. That's how you're about to say it. Now, I need to dive into my audio settings again because this is all messed up. So allow me to take a couple of minutes to fix that. I think that's going to be better for everyone, including me. If we have a little bit of latency between scenes, I got to fix that. And the volume from my headphones, we got to fix this. I did some things and I fucked something up. So hold on. Gonna play a little bit of music, gonna speak a little bit for a couple of minutes and fix everything. So please be patient.
Atmosphere.
So that's the beat. Now it's back. Cool. So what we need to do is to, just as John said, I gotta copy that one. Gotta go into this one. Gotta find it. VLC2. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Let's remove it. Yes. Then let's paste reference and just double check on that. VLC, that's right. It should be offset by 320 milliseconds. Is that because I'm doing something wrong? Yeah, I think it is. Does it normally work? Yeah. Does it work right now? No. I'm telling you things you already know. Paste reference. Okay. Then we gotta take that one, remove it. And I can't do this when I'm playing music. Just can't. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's not... It says my mic. That's not my mic. 1, 2. Oh. So where is the mic? 1, 2. You see? That's the mic. I've done multiple instances of pretty much everything, so it's all a mess. So let's do this again. I'm gonna play the beat and switch cameras and see if it makes sense or not. The volume should be consistent and the latency should be consistent. You shouldn't get any kind of jumps in the audio. Between this one, that one, or that one. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 39 minutes. Yeah, I know. 2 beats played in 45 minutes. I know. Is that a problem? John says it's fixed. I'm sorry. It takes time. I'm slow. What can I say? Let's move to Juno. The next submission. This is my second time sending a beat to your beat review. I hope you like it, and I wonder if this beat is rappable. Is it full enough? Thanks for your time and the work you're doing. Thank you. Thank you. So the question here is this beat rappable? Is it full enough? Let's see. Okay, cool. That's a track from Juno. And the question here was if this beat is rappable. Is it full enough? I think the answer is a flat out, straight up, simple yes. It's definitely full enough. One could even say that it's too full. You know? I haven't worked with rappers for a long time, but something I do know is that the rapper at hand normally wants much, rappers have big egos and they want a lot of attention. They want to be heard. So sometimes a nice and full like hook section makes sense, but then you need to back down on the instrumentals in the verses. This one, someone also mentioned it feels more suited for R&B than rap and hip hop. And I kind of agree, I think. Sure, you can get some kind of rapper to rap on this and it could pretty much sound kind of cool, but it's a really poppy kind of track and it doesn't fit for every rapper, I think. There's a lot of stuff going on. The drums are cool. The bass line here, this is a perfect example about what I'm talking about. Adding a bass line that actually has notes and is part of a melody, like a counter melody to everything else that's going on. Especially in this tempo, with this kind of up tempo kind of thing, a bass line like that. And again, when you make stuff like that, I think it's really important to pay attention to the ending of the notes. Because the start of the notes is actually what they are, but how the note ends makes a lot of difference when it comes to the swing and the groove and the feeling and the rhythmical aspect of the drums, of the bass. Because, in a band you have the rhythm section, that's the drums and the bass line, or the drum player and the bass player. And by cutting them short in a way that's kind of making sense with everything else makes a big difference. I think you did that really well in here. And all the small laser sounds and everything adds flavor and is kind of cool. Maybe there's a little bit too many of them, and I'm not a huge fan of the whole chuku chuku fake scratch thing. Feels dated and doesn't feel real. I doubt it's real. What are you guys saying? Hey, behave. James Rockwell. Did someone do something? Just play. I don't know what happened. Pretty much nothing. I don't know. A nice track, nice full production. It sounds good, sounds finished, sounds, polished and whatever. I'm also a big fan of the synth thing in the hook. But again, I think most rappers would want... You're saying rappers have big egos. No, you said that a few days ago, so I just stole it. Yeah, a nice and full track. I think many rappers would want even more space on the beat itself to kind of have less stuff going on in the verses, or at least a section of a verse, And going for something, having a production like this and then taking stuff out is always easier than doing it the other way around. So I think you can fix that if you wanted to. Maybe also the snare is a little bit loud, but let's not get into that sort of details because we don't need it. Now, if you already think that I'm slow on the stream and not covering a lot of beats, listen to this. This email is so long. So long. Because it's not a beat, it's not a submission. I'm a brand manager at the plugin brand called yada yada. I want you to do this. yeah, I'm just gonna skip that one and jump straight into the next one from Boom Clap Boom Clap. The email says, I'm sending this track to review because it's an unusual style for me and I wanted some feedback. I made it on Machine Plus in standalone mode during a collective sample challenge afternoon. We stumbled upon a 1980s really cheesy song, really not the kind you usually want to sample. It was a challenge inside the challenge. I added some SP404 effects, plus compressor, plus EQ at the end. And also to show some love for the Machine Plus, even if it's not a brand new, lack of updates, and it doesn't have the bells and whistles of the late MPCs. It's crazy powerful and smooth to use. Beware of gas. I'm a victim too. Yeah. Machine is a great piece of a great device for music making. Are we a little bit worried about native instruments? Yes, we are. Is that something we're going to talk about extensively in this show? No. We're going to play Boom, 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 Clap right now. So, I guess that's a snippet because it's 1:44 and it feels like after that entire breakdown, you wanted to pick it back up and get into the normal kind of high flow of things. But yeah, this was cool. And I've done stuff like that too. Being stuck with a sample that, for a challenge or something like that, people are like, yeah, we're going to flip the same sample. We're going to do it in 1.5 hours and it's going to be this and that. Then you have to go kind of a long way to get it to work. And it feels, cheers to my 1-year member anniversary. Best YouTube decision ever. James Rockwell, thank you. You've been a member for a year? That's crazy. Thank you. Memberships is actually kind of a cool thing. And I do appreciate it. Thank you. Now, it's obvious that you did put a lot of work into this to make it work with that sample, but I think you kind of saved it with the bass line. Unfortunately, I'm not a huge fan of the bass sound itself, but that's subjective and that's my opinion, which I'm entitled to have. Maybe it's just the fact that the mix isn't done, because the bass sound is kind of cool, has a lot of stuff going on. I want it to be a little bit more distorted, I think, to stand out a little bit more. But maybe that would happen if you did limiting and compression and stuff on everything in a different amount. But this is cool. And I mean, the whole laid back, still a lot of stuff going on vibe works really well for this. Using a sample like this and trying to go minimalistic would probably be hard, or using too much of the sample to make it obvious if the sample kind of sucks. So using small slices like this, switching it up a lot and adding this cool bass line to it, I think that's the right move. It has this soul-y kind of old school, almost 90s kind of vibe, but still a little bit fresher, a little bit more modern. I think this is cool. It stands out as being a little bit different, and I think it's obvious that you had a sample you're not comfortable with. Maybe just because you told me, I don't know. But using samples that are a little bit unexpected or a little bit out of the ordinary always puts you in a mindset that's a little bit out of the ordinary, which is always, pretty much always, a fun kind of thing to go through. Using the best sampled material ever is only as fun as it's going to be. Doing something different is going to be more fun, and the outcome is going to be more unexpected. And I think this is kind of unexpected, but it's not bad. But it also again feels like we are in some kind of R&B territory, someone like Genuine or something, some smooth. I don't know, Genuine. Where did that come from? Not smooth like D'Angelo kind of smooth, but smooth like in, kind of cheesy. I don't know. I think it's good. It's a cool production made with a sample that I guess was kind of cheesy from the get-go. I think you did a great job considering the material. Let's move into another one of the regulars. Icon 74. With a classic message from Icon 74. Icon 74 here, and this is my submission for the stream. Sometimes you just don't need to add more words because the music speaks by itself, speaks on itself. The music talks. Icon 74, let's go. And I increased the volume before because the other one was low. This is loud. My bad. Let's go again. That's 2 minutes and 20 seconds. We're going to cut it right there. Icon74 in the chat room asks, who can name the video game sample? I mean, it feels like those... That could be a Zelda game. That could be Link from the Past. Could it? Simon's Quest or Luigi's Mansion? Yeah, well. Made So Well also says Zelda. Whatever. I think this is a cool track. First and foremost, the kind of chord progression here is pretty interesting. I'm not going to say that it's super unconventional or anything, but it's not exactly what I expected from all the different changes and stuff. I like it. It's cool. It's nice. Something about the sound of it to me, I mean, it's a vintage video game sample. So it's going to be a little bit different to use because you don't have like, all the 24 bits and whatever. Something about the sound here makes me, it feels compressed. I'm not sure that it's actually compression going on. It's maybe just the source material itself is kind of the opposite of dynamic, And then the outcome is what it is. Could it be EQ'd in a different way? And maybe it feels... This is really hard to put into words. The main sample and the whole noisy kind of dun 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 dun. It feels... What's the opposite of dynamic? That's a Zelda sound. It is. Something about it feels like a sausage, Maybe that's a Swedish thing, but whenever you have a waveform that's uniform like that, it looks like a sausage. So we talk about the waveform looking like a sausage. Which means like the lack of dynamics. There's no like highs and lows going on. It's kind of flat. It's kind of, in your face, kind of constant, consistently at the same volume, the same kind of whatever. Which means that all those they add a ton. They add a ton of dynamics to the entire thing. Without that, it would be just a bunch of noise, these huge, large kind of synth sounds, and the drums. And the drums are, it doesn't feel like they blend together in a way that I would love it. But working with stuff like that is kind of hard because you don't have a lot of dynamics going on in the source material. It's kind of, 8-bit, 16-bit, whatever it is. It's not from Zelda. Maybe it's not. I like the vibe of it. I think it's cool. The chords, the programming of everything it's cool. Just something about the overall sonics of it that doesn't really appeal to me. Maybe it's just a mix, Or maybe this is one of those cases that I would suggest sidechain compression again to kind of have the sample duck a little bit for the kick drum, scooping out some volume and making it a little bit more dynamic and flowy. Maybe. The sample was King's Field, I think from the PS1. Who could have guessed, It's a nice track. It's nice in a lot of ways. I'm just trying to find things to improve. And it's kind of hard. Especially that section right there is cool. those kind of stutters is really cool, especially when you have something like this that's pretty much a sausage. Breaking it up like that is super effective. You could have done more of that. But yeah. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. I think it's time to move on because I have a hard time saying anything else about this one. Icon 74 holds kind of a high standard for himself. He makes good stuff straight up, and this is a nice track. Just something about the punchiness and the lack of dynamics that feels ear fatiguing. That's what I'm trying to say. It feels ear fatiguing. I would have a problem listening to this track for 5 minutes. It would be too intense, I think. But I'm also a soft guy. The next one comes from Gigi. Hey Accurate, attached a trip hop track from a past release of mine. It's longer than 2 minutes, so feel free to cut it off early. Made it with Eurorack plus Digitact. Eurorack. Trip hop. Not necessarily a bad thing. Let's give it a listen. The track comes from Gigi. Could have been kind of a cool transition if I played the right track, but I didn't. So let's try it again. From Gigi. Yeah, man. I mean, come on. Yeah, I would call this trip hop too. It's one of those genres that I feel is, what is even trip hop? But in this case, yeah, this is trip hop. Now, the layers of the drums, the layers of textures, the layers of sound. Awesome stuff. Immediately just takes you on a trip. Trip hop. So spacious, so cinematic, so kind of nice and beautiful. Producer-wise, the drum work here is so impressive. First of all, this whole drum breaky thing and also the layers on the snare drum in that. A lot of work was put into the rhythm section on this one, and I really appreciate it. So cool. Everything else just has so many textures and so many things going on. No, like straight up, this is just a piano note. Everything is kind of much and kind of complicated and kind of cool. In this genre, I guess this is kind of what you do, right? The musician kind of part of me wants things to be a little bit cleaner sometimes, but when it's this cinematic and this kind of effective from an emotional standpoint, all that goes out the window. It just does, because it's that cool. So fun and inspiring and interesting to listen to. It's just a whole different thing. Just a whole different thing. In a good way. In a good way. Normally I would say something like, yeah, you need a bass line, whatever. I don't think you do. In this case, I don't think you do. There's so many low frequencies going on in the different pads and the key sounds and everything. Adding a bass line, as I normally suggest, with some proper notes to make a melody, that would have been too much on this. I think you did the right thing here. On the opposite side of the spectrum, maybe it becomes a little bit muddy. Not from a mixing kind of standpoint that everyone always complains about, but just from a raw musical kind of standpoint, adding something more that just shines above the rest of the stuff would probably bring me even closer to loving it. I already love it. What am I saying? I might also be wrong because you have a lot of other stuff going on. Do I love the amount of reverb on the snare? I don't love the amount of reverb on the snare. In this context, in this genre, I think you can get away with it. To me, it's still too much. You gotta be in some kind of cave for a snare to be that kind of resonant. And maybe this is something I thought about listening to it. Maybe lowering the tempo a few BPM could be even more powerful and making it even more moody and whatever. Forget what I said about adding something more in the high frequencies. There's a lot of content up there. That's totally fine. Forget about that. Sounds good. Sounds well mixed. Sounds well made. Adds a bunch of layers, a bunch of textures, a lot of structure in this stuff. Dynamics in the arrangement and everything. This is good. This is good. Let's move along. This one came from Gigi. And it's good. Let's move into the next submission from Rogue Planet. I made this one on the Native Instruments Machine Mark III. I used vocals from Lil Boat, Tasmanian Devil. Lil Boat? Okay, Lil Boat, Tasmanian Devil. Praying for many blessed cook-ups in 2026. If you bounce to this, you lose. If you bounce to this, you lose. What's that supposed to mean?
way he just asked for money. I'm blocking that nigga, he dead. I still keep staying off meds. I'm not finna spank him, he fed. I still put that baby to bed. 1 million on me like what's said. I don't wanna fuck her head. You want on my live dead. I roll with the fire, yeah. I swapping out pies, yeah. She leave me with lipstick. I fuck on my door stress. I fucking too good, you fuck up a life. You leave it with post stress. I put it through birthday test. She got it, I'm good for it. She got some little perky breast. That puss got a hook on it. I'm stepping my foot on it. Who brighter than JP Morgan? Geeked up, my AC booming. Big ballin', ACL torn. I'm fucking bitch like a do porn. My bitch know that I gatekeep. Told God that it took the wrong reach. Still might flood a bitch with APs. I still take a bitch out the grease. Bitches us don't need no ID. I'm trying to leave blood on this teeth. These niggas is tending on me. I'm double OG 6 feet. I'm a 10-toe stepper for Reese. J-Van still in the heat. Pop a nigga ass a while later. Yeah, a new boat take an alligator. Chris Strong coming like the Raiders. Chris Strong shopping this on Razor. That bitch naked, no neighbors. Fuck her, that sack, I get racist. All of my bills, white faces. Real cut bitches get naked. If I don't offer a dick, they just take it. No way he just asked for money. I'm blocking that nigga, he dead. I still keep staying off meds. I'm not finna spank him, he fed. I still put that baby to bed. 1 million on me like what's said. I don't wanna fuck her head. You want on my live dead. I roll with the fire, yeah. I'm swapping out pies, yeah. She leave me with lipstick.
Yeah, okay. I try to be nice, normally. And whenever we have a submission from someone saying like, yeah, this is my second beat ever, I'm still learning, I'm soft, I'm nice. This is someone who obviously knows what he, or who was this? This was Rogue Planet. This is someone who knows what he does. Damn, man, I don't know. This is someone who knows what he's doing. That's what it is. It sounds good in a lot of ways. I hate the vocal. I do. And to me, it feels like you did not do the obvious thing. With this entire, like, melodics and everything, you could have gone for, like, an up-tempo kind of pop song. You went for a half-tempo kind of a calypso kind of vibe. Damn, in terms of, like, we got it. In terms of the musical taste and what this is, it's not for me. Not at all. Not even the slightest. In terms of like raw production skills, yeah, you know what you're doing. You have everything going on and everything sounds good and everything fits together, and in this kind of context, yeah. Hate the vocal, don't understand the music. And that's not me hating. That's not me, like, you know, saying that anything's bad. It's just not for me. Taste-wise. At all.
I fuck up my door stress. I fucking too good. You fuck up a life. You leave it with post stress.
And by the way, the whole volume difference that happened in like the chorus and the verse, that's not me. I didn't do anything. It's the actual track that changes that much in volume. It's not my bad. It's not on me. I didn't do anything. So the file itself is just, I guess the waveform is like this and then like this and then like this. I don't know. Good work. I gotta say that. Flat out. Good work. This is a nice and solid production. And for this audience, I guess this works well, even. Just that I'm so far from the actual audience here.
1 million on me like what's said. Pop a nigga ass a while later. Yeah, a new boat take an alligator. Chris Strong coming like the Raiders. Chris Strong shopping this on Razor.
That whole guitar thing sounds cool. The snare drum is a little bit too upfront and too loud, according to me. But I don't know much about this genre. It's Lil Yachty. You said something else. Lil Boat. So Yachty means like a yak.
That bitch naked, no neighbors. Fuck all, yeah. I'm swapping our pies. She leave me with lipstick. I fuck on my dough stress. I fuck her too good. You fuck up a life. You leave her with post stress. Niggas is pussy.
Melodically speaking, it's good work. Bum dum 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 dum. Together with the ding 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 ding. It's smart. Musically, it's smart and it works and it's good. Just that I, as a person, don't find it attractive at all. So Lil Boat is a common nickname for Lil Yachty. Sure. He's got presence, he's on beat, he just sounds like a frog. Yeah, he does. He does. And this, just not having any type of energy and all, just saying words on... This is not going to be about Lil Yachty. I don't understand him or what he does. This beat feels better than Lil Yachty to me, but still not up my alley.
I still keep staying off meds. Who better than JP Morgan? Geeked up, my AC booming. Big ballin', ACF torn. I'm fucking bitch like a new porn. My bitch not.
Let's move on. Rogue Planet. I'm sorry for being like this. I'm trying my best not to be a hater, not being too stuck in my ways, being a little bit more, open-eyed. It's not what you say in English. But this is just too far from what I enjoy. As a producer, you're talented. You know what you're doing. I'm not going to hate on that. Not going to hate on the skills. I'm just not a fan of the style. Good work, though. Good work. Benjamin. Yo, Ack. This is something I made recently on the 2000 XL, whilst also sending out some new outboard on the tracking. Not used any limiting, so it might need some turning up, but hopefully the file isn't too quiet. I'm waiting for a new compressor that will be able to push crazy amounts and get mad pump to the drums, and then I'll finish it. Okay. Benjamin. Let's have a listen. Okay, let's turn it up. Let's crank up the volume to the absolute max and let's play it again.
Been jamming.
Cool. Benjamin Buttons himself says there seems to be a glitch on playback that I know isn't in the beat. That's weird. Well, I'm not exactly sure the audio you're getting through YouTube, but to me it sounded good. I can't see what's wrong with it. But you know your own producer, you know your own production the best, so I might be wrong. What I heard sounded just fine, sounded good. It's not very loud, it's kind of quiet, so I needed to boost it up, but it sounds good. So, a few things. Love the drums. Love the drums. I love the idea with the piano chops. For real. Would I want more of the bass line you hit it in there? Yes, I would. I would love more volume on the bass in general. Just having it more, giving it more presence in the mix, or in the production, in the beat. Just having more volume on the bass, I think, would be a positive, good thing. Because the bass was in there, that's why I did this thing. The bass line was in there. But I wanted way more upfront, way higher in volume. And of course, it's pretty much a loop. So getting a secondary version of it, like a B section, that makes something different. You had a section here without the sample, and that helps. But then when you brought it back, it's the same. Sometimes that's difficult to do with samples like this. If you chop it up a lot and you're finding a different pattern and you have a hard time making sense of it. But I think this track would benefit from a bass section. I think so. And I want more bass. And if it came out weirdly on the stream, I'm just sorry. How can I put the bass louder? I did have that in an... How can I put the bass louder? It says who? In an early version, but then ended up playing it too safe. Yeah. I do that myself as well. I start with the bass line on one level, and then I'm like, yeah, is it really in tune? Is it really on pitch? Does it sound too much like colliding with the kick drum? And I just, sometimes you just got to trust yourself, go with your gut, and just allow it to be a little bit loud. I think it would help in this case. But this is fire. I mean, this is a good track. And the micro choppiness that happens with the extended kind of strings. Whoo, sounds like an MPC. Sounds like proper old school hip hop stuff. That stuff I love. Really cool. And who knows? Maybe if you increase the volume on the bass, maybe it makes sense to lower the hi-hats a little bit to allow a little bit more of that kind of low frequency vibe to come through. The hi-hats are not too loud, but maybe it makes sense to turn them down a little bit when you introduce more of the bass to have a different kind of... I don't know. Dirty 1200 is wondering what compressors he's getting. Yeah, I want to know that too. I have a 3U 19-inch rack space I need to fill with something. I've thought about compressors for days. I'm also cheap when it comes to stuff like that. But if you have a good suggestion, please hit me up. There shouldn't be choppiness in those. It's smooth usually. What? I think I picked it up before. whatever. I might be wrong. Well. Lovely stuff. This is lovely stuff. I want more bass and I want a B section. That's it. Beautiful track. Well made. Well done. We were with Benjamin Buttons and we're going to Lam. Lam beats slow start to the year, but here's my first 2026 beat. Good stuff. LOMM. Lam beats. Let's fucking go. Not that much though. Sorry, I increased the volume. Now I need to take it. Lam beats. Let's go. And that's it. Lam Beats has sent in a few submissions before, and I've been a fan of them. I like this one too, but this is not your strongest submission to this show. To me, this feels like a great start for a track. But as far as I know you, Lam, you could add more on top of this. It feels like you wanted to combine two samples and you just had one. You know, something else could go on here. The drums are bumping. The drums are really cool. The groove and the sample selection and everything is nice. It's nicely programmed. It's nicely processed and everything. But the beat itself, I mean, da, 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 it's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. But I think there's space to add more. It doesn't need to be too much, but just something that breaks out the kind of repetitiveness and the one-notey kind of nature. This is funny because there is cool drums. There's a nice deep subby, a little bit low bass line. And this main sample that repeats on itself and whatever. But somehow I'm not getting fulfilled by it. If you know what I'm saying. It's also kind of a strange note progression. It's repetitive by nature because it kind of moves in just, it moves between notes, but they are not really far from each other. It's not like you're down here and then up here. It's all a lot of half note steps and stuff. Exactly how to combat that and how to fix it, it's hard to say. It differs from time to time. This is a good solid foundation. Good solid foundation for something that could be more interesting and a little bit more intriguing. And it sounds to me like you're agreeing with what I'm saying. So I'm not just being stupid. Maybe I'm making sense. It's nice for what it is, but I think it's a start for a track, which is interesting and cool. Don't only send stuff that's like done and finished. This to me feels like something that could be added upon. Hard to say what. Could be vocal samples, could be some piano, could be guitar. I think you need some sound with a little bit of attack because it's all kind of smooth. So having something with a harder attack that kind of makes a few points, that actually says a few words. Now you have the cadence, you have the vibe, you have the messaging, but you don't necessarily have the words. Needs more energy and maybe higher register. That's what Made So Well says. And I think that's right. The flute sound is kind of uninspiring. Yeah, that's harsh. But I kind of agree. Did I skip something? Let's see. That's the next one. My bad. Kane TV. Have we seen Kane in the chat today? Not sure. Not sure at all. Kane TV. Hey, Accurate. Long time no see. I was busy the last few weeks and couldn't make any stuff. However, this beat/idea was done in a few minutes. Everything was right, the groove, the drums. I was completely done with my MPC Live 2, and as an end of chain effect, I recorded it to tape. I know it has lack of variation, but I really like the overall sound. Hope you guys like it. Greetings from Germany, from Kane TV. All right. Let's go! He already said himself that he knows it's repetitive. And it is. But you made this in a few minutes, like one of those really inspiring moments happened and you just put everything together and it just worked this good. And that's magical. That's just awesome. That should happen more to you and to everyone else, you know? A good, solid, funky track, even though I think one of the bass notes might be off, but you know, who's counting? I've done that too. But I think one of the bass notes is off scale, whatever. The reason I made this face in the beginning, the way the drums came in, kind of unexpected, and with that snare sample and that kind of groove with the bass line and everything going on, it's just a vibe, you know? Filtering, already building up this funky kind of vibe. And of course that little sound effect thingy helps a lot. Again, I gotta point out that I'm not a huge fan of chuku 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 scratch. It's effective, but I think it's corny. And what's really cool about this is that even though it is repetitive, it's pretty much a loop going on. With these kinds of samples, you have all the possibility in the world to switch it up and make a lot of different variations that still works together because it's the same samples and the same sounds, just moving them around, rearranging them and stuff. But definitely cool. Dirty 1200 doesn't like the snare rolls. I did. I think they made a lot of sense. That's what I think. Really nice padding going on. Thanks a lot for informing me. I had no idea, but that's good for him. I think the bass is on point. Yeah, me too. The bass line works a lot. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm hearing a note that should be like a half step down, I think. I might be wrong. Maybe it's all on point. Talking about the scratches, if one doesn't have access to turntables, etc., to scratch, but you want scratches on your beat, how would you do it? I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I know there are like libraries of made scratch things that you can just put on a track, and this could also be a sample that's just synced up to the beat. If you can't make proper ones that sounds convincing, I would say you don't need them. Write your own scratch app. I did. Dirty 1200, you made your own scratch app? I want to know all about that. So yeah, I might be wrong with the bassline. The bassline might be on point. Let's say that I'm wrong. The bassline is in tune. The drums, the snare drum, the vibe, the bass line, the samples, the horns. Good stuff. Keep working on it and finish it and make a B and maybe a C section to make some difference in it. That's all. So, Kane TV, good stuff, hands down. Good stuff. The next beat comes from... doesn't say anything, it's just an email. The file is called Steel Mac, so let's go by that. I don't want to say email addresses. Steal Mac, and the message goes, accurate. That's all. Let's have a listen. Wow, that's cool. That's a beat and a submission that's a little bit out of the ordinary. It's a little bit strange, but it's cool. To me, it sounds like you're kind of thinking about DJ Premiere's way of using samples and chops. Like making stuff that's not necessarily hits to become hits. You know, not a hit song, but a hit in terms of bum, 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 bum. That's cool. Now, if you wanted to go full DJ Premier, kind of old gangstar boom bap kind of stuff, I think you need to switch up the drums to go better together with that kind of rhythmical thing you have going on with the sample. Because the way the sample plays out and the way it's programmed is really cool and choppy and has a lot of rhythmical values to it and a lot of swing. The drums, kind of not. The drums are like flatter and still nice. Not badly programmed drums. But the way the drums work/don't work with the sample here takes me a little bit out of that vibe. It's the lack of some proper kind of snappiness with the drums. The drums are hard and they're cool, but there's something about the programming and the rhythmical kind of aspects of it all that I don't really fit together with the sample chops. This says it all. The way the hi-hat is programmed in this section, like doesn't belong in this groove. I'm getting some sort of gospel vibe, which is not bad, but the contrast between this and this also, again, the correlation between the drums and the sample is a thing. You could emphasize the groove and everything about this by doing something a little bit more aggressive up front with the bass line. You know, you're working with a few different elements here. You have the drums, you have the bass line, you have the sample, chops, the hits, the whatever you want to call them. And there's, to me, this is me. This is subjective, and this is just me. To me, there's something about those three elements that doesn't really blend in together the way I would want them to go. Everything is dope. Dirty 1200 says dope drums. Yeah, dope drums. Dope sample, kind of dope bass line. But in different ways, that doesn't make them melt together the way I would expect it to go in this genre. And you still have that Premiere kind of boom, 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 boom. It's hard to say. It's hard to say exactly what it is. Maybe it's the tempo, maybe it's the swing, maybe it's the pitch. It's not the pitch. It's something here. Okay, let's backtrack. Let's backtrack. This is good stuff. A good track, good solid production. I'm looking for minor things that could be tweaked. I'm not even saying minor things that could be fixed. Not necessarily fixed, just tweaked and changed, and it would become different. The way it is right now is perfectly good. This is good. I just think it's fun to dive into it and start thinking about, dissecting the piece and thinking about the different things. And I'm noticing that there's a different kind of vibe, a different feeling hidden in here. If you wanted to get that one out, I would arrange a few of the things to see if anything happens. Wingmaster points it out, it's just a straight loop. Yeah. For a track, for a song, you would want a B section for this one too. Even though when you're kind of letting go of the vocals, releasing them and allowing them to play, that creates dynamics and a difference. But, a switch up could be really beneficial. Can I send a beat or am I too late? Unfortunately, I think you're too late. We are about to... I think we're going to go a little bit over 2 hours today, but we still have too many beats. So, unfortunately, no. And next show in 2 weeks, I'm not accepting anything in beforehand. It's all going to have to be submitted on stream. And I think I'm going back to the form on the website just to try it out and make it even more difficult for you guys. Emails is good, but a form on the website is, according to me, maybe better. Honestly, I haven't decided how to do things. I just want stuff to be more live. I want less beats that's like coming in hours before. I want everything to be as live as possible. Send me beats when we start. Another track, and this submission comes from Made So Well, the most famous super chatter we have. Made So Well says, "Good evening, Accurate. Good evening, Ack. Thanks again for another Monday. I appreciate all you do. This submission is inspired by Blunt Peanut of Arc Raiders lore." The video game Arc Raiders? Cool. I was watching a stream while working on creating an effect patch to simulate the microcosm and created this loop. I was hit with a moment of inspiration to lay a verse. Enjoy. So, you watched this Arc Raider stream, made this when you tried to do something with the microcosm, and you also got inspired to put down a verse? That's kind of cool. And the track is called First Verse. Is this your first rap verse ever that we're about to enjoy? Yeah. Made So Well. Let's have a listen right now.
Get the cheddar, Peter, get the cheddar. Get the cheddar. Peter, get the cheddar. Seven the bodies from the podcast group for the blueprint. Collect the insurance, the better on 7. I'm on the fin, I got my vet. Plus coaches on my 6, so get ready for the disrespect. Oh, he's stupid. Send his ass back to Toronto. Get the cheddar, Peter, get the cheddar. Get the cheddar, Peter, get the cheddar. Seven the bodies from the podcast group for the blueprint. Collect the insurance, the better on 7. I'm on the fin, I got my vet. Plus coaches on my 6, so get ready for the disrespect. Oh, he's stupid. Send his ass back to Toronto.
Cool. You know what? It would be awesome to hear this beat, like 8 bars of it before the rap starts, to be able to kind of separate one thing from the other. This is cool. Now, the audio quality of the vocal could be improved. I think we all kind of agree on that. And with my headphones right here, right now, it's actually a little bit hard to...
Get the cheddar, Peter, get the cheddar. Get the cheddar, Peter, get the cheddar. Seven the bodies from the podcast group for the blueprint. Collect the insurance, the better on 7. I'm on the fin, I got my vet. Plus coaches on my 6, so get ready for the disrespect. Oh, he's stupid. Send his ass back to Toronto.
It has a little bit of that old LP company flow kind of vibe to it. A lot of words, a lot of rapping, a lot of rhythmical coolness going on, together with a really like suspicious and mysterious and dark kind of grimy beat. I think it's cool. The audio quality on the vocal is a little bit of an issue for like enjoying it as it is. But you know how to rap. That's cool. No, first verse for a potential full song. Yeah, okay. So it's not like your first verse, because that would be crazy.
Insurance, the better on 7. I'm on the fin, I got my vet. Plus coaches on my 6, so get ready for the disrespect.
What's cool about beats like this to me is that, sure, the drums are really good and all the stuff with the sample that's going on, being a little bit all over the place, then you have a solid bass line. You know, you can make beats in a bunch of different ways, and this is definitely one of the cooler ones where you just decide on the bass line being the driving force and other stuff also being important. Of course, I'm not saying it's not, but the way it's used to create this kind of tension makes it interesting. And that would not have worked if it wasn't for the bass line. You know what I'm saying? What would you change about the vocals? The processing. Depending on if you use like a proper mic to record it, there's something about the processing here that makes me go, yeah, is that just low quality, or is it processed in a way that's supposed to be kind of dirty? In that case, I'm not a huge fan of that. I like my vocals to be as clean as possible, even if the beat is all crazy and messed up. I want the vocals to sound like properly recorded and mixed vocals. Here it sounds like there's some kind of EQ tricks going on, maybe a little bit of distortion, some stuff like that. And it's a creative choice to do. It's just, I like my vocals to be clean. You know, listen to someone like LP these days, or Aesop Rock or someone like that. The vocals, even though they might be processed, they're kind of straightforward. It's kind of like someone just rapping in your face, and all the craziness goes on in the beat.
Respect. Oh, he's stupid. Send his ass back to Toronto. Get the cheddar, Peter, get the cheddar. Seven the bodies from the podcast group for the blueprint. Collect.
To me, it feels like there's more processing going on. You're saying to yourself that you cut the lows and added a 127 millisecond delay. I'm hearing more than that. I'm hearing distortion. Maybe not distortion, but somehow it feels...
The insurance is better than 7. I'm on a fin, I got my vet. Plus coaches on my 6, so get ready.
It feels really thin. The vocals sounds thin. And there are different ways to bump it up in the EQ curve to do like some low mid frequencies, a low mid gain boost, a low mid frequency boost to round it off and make it a little bit smoother. But it also comes down to the quality of the microphone a lot. My voice gets rumbly, so I cut the lows. Yeah, but where do you cut the lows? Cutting the lows makes a lot of sense for vocals. I do that for my videos even. But depending on where you cut it, you're also taking a lot of the character out. Beatmaster says it sounds like a phone effect. And yeah, a little bit of that. So depending on where in the frequency you're cutting it, that's what's going to happen. And it also feels like it kind of lives on top of the beat. It's not blended in a nice way. And that's the tricky part. So you cut it at 200. Yeah, depending on the microphone, I think 200 hertz might be a little bit high. Cutting everything with like a sharp high pass filter around 120, 160, 140. 200 should still work. Depending on the microphone and the preamp and everything, of course. It's a whole thing. And I'm not saying that I'm sitting here and I'm expecting like the highest quality Neumann mic or whatever. Just sounds processed to me.
Collect the insurance, better than 7. I'm on a fin, I got my vet. Plus coaches on my 6, so get ready for the disrespect. Oh, he's stupid. Send his ass back to Toronto.
I love the presence and how much it feels like you mean what you're saying. It's not acted, it's not too relaxed, it's not too aggressive. It's just, yeah, like it. So Kyle says, what microphone do you use? 200 hertz is way too high for a lead vocal. Use dynamic EQ to manage the low end on your voice instead. Yeah. Or just cut it at a lower point. I would say 120 hertz is a normal kind of low cut. 200 is high. It's time to move along. We've been talking about this one for way too long. It's cool. It's nice. I like the beat. I like the rapping. It's nice. Did not know you had that type of skill. It's 10:03 my time, and I took a lot of time in the beginning. I took a lot of time in the beginning here to kind of deal with my technical issues. So let's go for half an hour. When my time is 10:30, we're just going to cut it. And let's move to a submission from Symphonic Beats. Hello, Accurate. I hope all is well. This is a rough draft, but mostly complete. A sample flip with a mini freak for some reason. A sample flip with a mini freak for some variation. Doesn't say for some reason, for some variation. Not to make it uncomfortable here, but I lost my grandmother and nephew in the last few years, and this is a bit of a dedication to them. Looking forward to your thoughts as always. Symphonic, we just appreciate you being honest and pointing that out for your grandfather and your nephew. It's just a beautiful, nice thing. I'm sorry for your loss, of course, but mentioning that this beat is dedicated to them is not a bad thing at all. Good for you. Symphonic beats. The beat is called Lost Time. Let's go.
Pensar que te pueda perder. Que te pueda perder. Un gran miedo me da y no hay qué hacer.
Yeah, man, that's cool. Super, super jazzy. I like that. What stood out with this one to me is the little bit strange, interesting, and cool chord progression. Because if you wanted to go for something like jazzy using samples like this, I mean, it's jazz samples. I'm wondering, is this like layers upon layers of different samples from different songs or different parts of the same song or whatever? Because it feels like there's a lot of work behind all this. Making everything work and making everything in tune, making everything in on beat and making it work. This is, I mean, listening to this is just a joy. Really good stuff, nice and musical. And, you know, adding rappers on this would be, that wouldn't be right. That would be a crime against the art of beat making. Nice and full and complicated and jazzy with all sorts of different horn sections and a little bit of a solo and a different variation. The drums, I mean, this is flat out just a good piece of music. And the chords and everything work flawlessly, but it's not what I expected to hear. I was expecting bum, ba bum bum, ba bum bum, ba bum 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 bum. You know, what your mind would go to. And this is kind of that, but a little bit spicy, a little bit jazzy and unexpected, which makes it so much more fun to just listen to. The vinyl crackle, yeah, there's a lot of vinyl crackle, but that's not a bad thing. The saxophone is from a different part, the piano from the sample, and a lot of the layering is from the mini freak. Yeah, okay, that's what I'm saying. It's not a straight up chop from one record. You've done a lot of stuff. And, you know, we're talking about art. It's supposed to be emotional, this or that way. To me, this is interesting in that it's positive and kind of uplifting, but it's not a happy track. You have a little bit of those blue notes in there. You know what I'm saying? And that makes everything cool. Just those super slow vibrato thing adds some depth to it. And to me, you kind of you hit the perfect balance between it being repetitive and loop-based and still really interesting and musical and jazzy. Because you're returning to this every now and then. Which makes sense and is really cool. And the Beat Platoon, stop taking back your comments. If you write something, stand by it. You're writing something and you're taking it out. And welcome to the stream, Beat Platoon, of course. I mean, I don't have a lot of bad stuff to say about this. The bass line also sits in there and like pulls its part. It feels like it's uplifting and positive, but has a little bit of an afterthought, you know. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Life's good and we're positive and everything's happy, but also think about life, you know. And me saying that, if this is a dedication to people you've lost, I don't know. Sorry about that, but hey. It's a nice track. I think you did a great job here. It's really good stuff. We don't need to be more complicated than that. Good stuff, and I've said enough. We have a lot of beats that's not going to be played today. I'm sorry about that, but that's just how it goes. Now, I mentioned next episode. Let me just do one of those. I'm going to post a poll. Please help me out with the poll I just posted. Just reply as many of you as possible because I actually want the feedback. This is difficult stuff. And the next beat comes from Aditya Chowdhury. We've had you before. This is... Okay, we've had him before and he makes a point out of it. This is the out-of-tune guitar guy. This is the out-of-tune guitar guy. I made a new beat. Yeah, I think that stuck with him. He made a track with some kind of VST guitar that was badly out of tune and everyone pointed it out, me included. So this is the same guy. He made a new beat. Let's not even try to look for an out-of-tune guitar. Let's just enjoy the track for what it is and think about it. Okay, guys, help me out with this one. First of all, I gotta make it clear. To me, it sounds like you and I talking to the producer of this actual track, who is in the chat room called Tamashi Trying. Tamashi Trying, I think. It feels to me like we come from two different schools of music making altogether. My feedback from me as a person, as a listener, there's too much stuff going on. A lot of notes, a lot of interest, a lot of instruments, a lot of notes, a lot of instruments, a lot of decisions in terms of where you place them in volume that I kind of don't agree with. Some of the synths are way too loud and they stick out, and when they're supposed to harmonize with something else, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. There are notes in here that are offbeat. There are notes in here that are out of tune, out of pitch, together with each other. You know, some notes shouldn't be combined if you're not adding this specific note to it. All notes can be played together in the right context. That's just music theory. But here, I think musically, there's too much going on. It's hard to understand everything, even though parts of it is really impressive and really cool. A lot of like really cute melody ideas comes in and comes out. Sometimes they crash with something else, sometimes not. But it feels like we come from different schools of music making altogether. Gotta jump into the chat again. Would work for a retro video game. Yeah. I don't want to listen to this just to listen for... I don't want to listen to this just for listening for pleasure, but in a game it works well, I think. Yeah, maybe that makes sense. In some kind of video game... That's a note right there. I'm not a music theory nerd. I just kind of know what feels right and what feels wrong. To me, this section that's coming up here, something is off with the pitch. When you can arrive to this stripped down place, it works again, but the transition between the happy-go-lucky dun, 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 and the more darker part, the transition, you know, it's way out of pitch. I know what you're doing, and I think it's kind of cool, but it becomes out of tune. That's what I think. That bit is a transition fully in tune, actually. Okay. So this transition section is fully in tune. So you're saying that the low synth here in the transition is fully in tune, actually. Okay. It's fully in tune, actually. I don't mean that it's not in tune. The instruments are in tune. They're playing the right intended note. Sure. But one melody together with another melody creates dissonance in a way that I feel unpleasing. Okay, so maybe it's fully in tune actually, but I find it harsh, not nice, not beautiful, not cool. But that's me. Not enjoying something that's fully in tune actually. Okay, so Tamashi Trying says it's a transition bit a chromatic median to C. James Rockwell says it's weird sounding to me too, yeah. But Tamashi Trying, if this is a transition that's fully in tune actually, and a bit of chromatic median to C, good for you. To me, there's too many notes. It doesn't feel pleasing to listen to, even though it's perfectly in tune, actually. Yeah, that's what I feel about it. Let's move on to JRC Beats. We've had you on the show before too, so JRC Beats. Let's freaking go. That's too loud. That's my bad. So let's decrease the volume and let's go again. sorry, that just went on. That's 2.5 minutes and I forgot about it and just enjoyed it. You know, sometimes that's what happens. You're just listening to it, trying to kind of dissect everything and think about what you're hearing. And then the beat just grabs you. You just listen to it as the piece of art that it is. You just enjoy it. This is good. This is good stuff. As a beat maker and producer, I know exactly what you did with some of those. Like going in reverse, doing that trick and everything. And it sounds perfect. Fits in the entire thing really well. I mean, the chords and everything. Dum, dum, da, dum. Dum, da, dum, dum. Dum, dum, da, dum. Really, really nice and healthy and just, you know, it's just pleasant, pleasing, good. It would have been too repetitive, but then you added this weird kind of guitar or whatever it is with a lot of processing. That added so much. And without knowing, I would guess this is at least 2 completely different samples pulled together, and they really make sense together. I am a fan of this. This is just flat out good stuff. This is 74 BPM. What? I thought it was faster than that, but this is, according to the file name at least, 74 BPM. And yeah, checks out. And again, the whole, oh, love that. Loved that. The you know, sample-based hip-hop beats where one sound cuts another one off. And it becomes choppy, but also musical. So effective. So cool. Nice drums, nice bass line, good sample choices, a little bit of variation. Boom. Just straight up good stuff. It's not a sample-based one. This got to be samples. The hi-hat makes it seem faster. Yeah, it does. But there's something about like the overall stuff that happened here that just feels, you know, it feels well made. Nothing too complicated, nothing out of the ordinary, not too, you know, crazy out of the box stuff going on. Decent, well sounding, well produced, well thought out beat. A good idea, good samples, good material, and good work. Good stuff. Is it an AI-generated sample? Well, who cares? To me, it sounds like you put a lot of effort into the production, and, you know, JRC has been submitting a lot before, and he knows what he's doing. I said we're going to end it at 10:30. It's now 10:31, so let's play one more track, and that's it. That camera. One more track, and that's it. Which actually means, I'm not going to go for another half hour, but this actually means that we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beats that hasn't been played. Which is good. And this one is on SoundCloud, so I'm afraid we are not going to go there, even though we're not going to go there. And another one from the same guy? No. Okay, hold on. The first one Okay, I'm clicking the wrong link. That one is on SoundCloud. I've said this. We're not accepting links like that. And the next one is from the same guy, but a different email. Whatever. Also SoundCloud. So, this one comes from John. Let's see if we have an artist name instead. Mad Caller. I think that's the name of the producer. Mad Caller. Track I recently did with a female MC called Rugrat Nami. A track I recently did with a female MC called Rugrat Nami. The track was made on the Digitact 2. I would love to get your feedback. You will get my feedback as the last submission for this episode. Let's go.
I said I meditate and plan my days. I use the notes from yesterday in order from high to low priority. I don't finish, it's okay, I let it be. Selfishly, cup is always running over me. I drink my fill, I give the rest, let you do what you will. I do my best, not concerned with how you feel. I hang with people who know me for real. All of my homies, they love me, not situationally. Not cause they're bored and they're looking for some company. Comfortably, I work alone when nobody questions the throne I sit on. I talk to myself, got a lot going on. I talk to myself and sometimes I write songs. Do you want me to drizzle it with a little honey? I say you love me, but lash out in ways that don't feel lovely. Like something has changed. I catch the vibe and step out the way. I don't move mountains, I drive around instead. Music blasting as I cruise with the wind, fusing with the vehicle that I'm in. Grass is green everywhere that I stand. When I hold your hand, feels like I'm the man. I can do anything that I say I can. I just move forward and what happens is what happens, cause God's got a plan. Yeah, I said my bills paid, ate good today. I'm feeling great, I am wide awake. I give thanks, I meditate and plan my day. I use my notes from yesterday.
So, towards the end of the stream, I usually get more critical. You know me. I'm getting sour. Yeah, cranky old guy getting pointing a knife around. This, I'm not going to be overly critical, but I gotta point out the fact that I think this rapper and this beat is not a great marriage. To me, it sounds like she's good. And to me, it sounds like the beat's good. The combination could be stronger. And maybe it's not like the musical aspects talking. Maybe it's just the mixing and the processing. To me, she deserves to be heard. The beat is way too loud. The bass and everything covers her. I mean, when you make beats with rappers and stuff, getting too many sounds in there could be an issue. In this case, I think there's enough space in terms of the notes and everything, but mixing-wise, the bass line, the drums, the hi-hat, the snare, the sample, the piano, everything is louder than her. I can still hear her, but, bump her up in the mix. That's my first thing.
I don't finish, it's okay, I let it be. Selfishly, cup is always running over me. I drink my fill, I give the rest, let you do what you will. I do my best, not concerned with how you feel. I hang with people who know me for real. All of my homies, they love me, not situationally. Not cause they're bored and they're looking for some company. Comfortably, I work alone when nobody questions the throne I sit on. I talk to myself, got a lot going on.
without having any type of insight in this production thing, did she record this verse on this beat? Is this the lyric and the rap verse, is that written to this beat? To me, it wouldn't surprise me if it was like recorded on another track and then transferred to this beat as kind of a remix or something. Doesn't feel like they totally align musically. Like her cadence and her way of saying words doesn't really flow with the beat. She's good, the beat's good, but the marriage doesn't really work. Now, the beat itself is well produced, it sounds good. It's too loud and it's overbearingly everything compared to her.
Myself, and sometimes I write songs. Do you like music? Blasting as I cruise with the wind, fusing with the vehicle that I'm in. Grass is green everywhere that I stand. When I hold your hand, feels like I'm the man. I can do anything that I say I can.
Well, other than that, I mean, the piano thing, the whole ding, dun, 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 it's not bad. The bass line on top of that fits really well. The drums.
I just move forward, and what happens is what happens, cause God's got a plan.
Just the beat itself internally is also kind of strangely mixed. The bass is too loud compared to the drums, and I would just go back and redo the entire mix of it. Not because it sucks, but because there's a lot of potential that's not really stepping forward. You know, the potential is higher than what the actual result is, but it's good stuff. It is good, a good piece of work in its entirety. Nothing to complain about. Well, yeah. And everyone is talking about age. That's a stutter effect. Stutter. Yeah, I did this. Scrolling on the Magic Mouse in the playhead. Not a good idea. It's good. It's good. But I think something needs to be changed in order for making those two elements marry perfectly. But you know what? We did. That's the last beat for today. This stream is over. Peace out. The beat review episode for today is over. Now I'm just going to chit chat for 5 minutes before I go to bed. So we did this poll. I did a poll. Only accepting submissions on stream. Good idea or bad? Good idea won by 84%. Bad 16%. So I think that says something, but Made So Well also had a lot of like, yeah, it was chaos last time. Honestly, what was the chaos all about last time? I remember getting way too many submissions and it got crazy. I had this thing where I opened up the inbox, the submission form on my website on stream. So we went live, I said hi, and then we opened it, and I got like 30 beats in 2 minutes. Now I got, 20 beats in general. So I want more beats, I want more new submissions from new people, but I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm getting like 30 beats and I can only cover 15. How would you freestyle on this beat? I would not freestyle. I'm not a rapper. Closing the floodgates was hard. That's right. I turned it on, I got a lot of beats, and closing the form was kind of difficult. Because even if I closed it, you guys were still on the link itself and you could submit, and I felt bad for not including everything. I think there are ways for me to control that. I think there are ways for me to like set the number of submissions to a max value. I think. So I could create the form, you guys could go in there, you could upload your track, and when I receive the files, I'm just getting 15. And everyone else, like 16, 17, actually gets a message on screen saying, hey, the submission is closed. Automatically. So I need to dive into this and understand how it works and everything, but I think that's a possibility. Think. And also, if I make it in the right way, I could do this thing where I grab all the names, the artist names from the submission form, the replies, putting them automatically pretty much in a list. So I could have something on screen. Like a little thing here saying, this is who's being played, this is the next track, and this is the next track. So everyone knows. Like full transparency. I think that's good. Set a limit. Yeah. And I think it's unfortunate that we have to do it like that. So like the person with the fastest internet connection kind of wins. But it's also impossible to think of a different way to do it. You know, everything has ups and downs, you know, positives and negatives. 1 beat per person. Yeah, always 1 beat per person. Never anything else. Just can't. So I will make a script that posts 15 different tracks at once. Okay, yeah. So be that guy. Please be that guy. Destroy me and what I'm thinking. So I'm gonna decide on all this, but right now I'm saying this. I'm not accepting any requests before stream in 2 weeks. Even if I have like 15 submissions in my inbox, I'm just gonna ignore them. Everything's just gonna be discarded. I want you guys to send me the beat on the stream. Maybe in a forum on the website. Maybe I'm gonna have to start allowing links. You know, send me a link to your SoundCloud for a specific track and I'm gonna go find it. Or YouTube or whatever. Maybe we're gonna do that. Not promising, I don't know. But I'm gonna get this all done in 2 weeks. What about the randomizer? Yeah, that could be one thing to do with, like getting 30 submissions and then randomize. I guess you guys are watching these kinds of live streams more than I do, so you know how people tend to do it. I don't know shit. I'm just trying to reinvent the wheel. I suggest a randomized via Discord. Yeah, I can't force everyone to become a member in the Discord. That doesn't feel like me, you know. Join the Discord and have a random chance to be played on this. No. Discord is not for everyone. And I acknowledge that. You said you might do video submissions. No, I'm not going to do video submissions, but accepting video submissions could be a thing. I could do that. Randomizing might help promote the spamming. So you're sending like duplicate versions of your thing. You're sending your email or your submission 3 times to have a bigger chance to get played. Yeah. Do people actually care that much? Did you talk to your people at Native Instruments? Oh, that's a good question, Puerto Ricanism. Did I talk to my people at Native Instruments? I did. I did talk to my people at Native Instruments. Bolo said that the YouTube community is changing. Yeah, it always is. I used to get 60,000 views on nothing. Now I get nothing on a 60,000 hour video. It's always changing. It is what it is. A wheel might be fun. Oh, so an actual way to kind of, yeah, we could incorporate whatever. Set a limit and only accept 20 or so beats. And that's it. Then maybe at the end of the round, sure, that makes sense. But then it also becomes a competition of who has the best internet connection. And I guess we're gonna have to do it some way. But a roulette wheel is kind of a fun idea. It is. And I guess there's like random number generators online we can use as like a video thing in here, you know. I could just roll a D20. That could also be like the most simple way to do it. Just getting 20 beats and rolling a D20 and picking the beat. Do a filter that has a length limit, so the tracks so only the tracks under 2 minutes gets passed. Well, I can just stop it at 2 minutes. You know. So, are we going to get complete 16? I don't know. I talk to my people at Native Instruments, but I don't know jack shit. Maybe I should have said that. Sorry. I talked to them. I talked to my one guy at Native Instruments that I know nowadays. I used to have two, now I have one. He's a great guy. Almost consider him to be a friend. The amount of emails back and forth, not even talking about just Native Instruments stuff. He's a good guy, for real. He's like one of the best. I sent him an email asking how he's doing, you know. I'm not digging for dirt on Native Instruments, and he's not going to give it to me. He's employed, you know, and drama is going on. He can't be speaking to a freaking YouTuber about that. I wanted to check on him just to check on him as a person, as an employee. And he basically told me he can't tell me much, which makes a lot of sense, and I didn't, want anything. And I got updated on how he's doing, which is personal between him and me. So yeah, I don't know anything about products. They made a statement from Native Instruments, and that's the official kind of thing we all have to go by. So, beat roulette, wheel or papers from the hat. Yeah, we're not going to take like 2 minutes to pick a D20 or some kind of random number generator. And in that case, maybe I could just open up the floodgate, accept a lot of beats. Maybe like how many it will become for like 5 minutes. Say 30 beats on a good day. And then decide to play 16. And, just generate a random number and pick the beat, but then I would not be able to make a cue. I think I want a cue somewhere around here. I want a cue naming the different names of the producers, which makes everything that's random not work if I'm not generating 16 tracks out of the 30 randomly. You know what? You guys made me think about a few things. I think I know how to think about this. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the feedback. That's what I wanted. That's what I needed. Thank you. But I think it makes sense to have a list. A cue. You can't skip the cue. You can't skip the line and pay me what, nothing like that. That's all silliness. We're not doing stuff like that. It's corny. Some kind of list so you know who's going to be played and not. Again, I don't want to create a situation where people sent in something and sits around for 2.5 hours and just hoping to get played, and they never get played. Do you still use Machine MK3? No. Machine MK3, I haven't touched that one in years. Machine Plus, though. Yeah, it's disconnected right now, but I do go back to it every now and then. The complete setup for the plugins, that's a whole different thing. That's one thing for what it is. Machine sometimes gets played, and maybe it's on. By the way, I did this thing on Instagram and in the YouTube community page. I asked you guys to send me questions for a Q&A video. Replying to questions on live stream like this is what it is. But I'm also planning to do videos every now and then. Sitting here, answering questions, going a little bit more in detail with stuff. About the gear, about the setup, about my process, about the different pieces of gear, different companies, you know. I'm watching a lot of videos like that myself from people that I find inspiring. And, you know, asking me questions like this makes me, I just want to reply real quick and move on to the next one. No, I want to do this in a smarter way. Which means I'm going to post this again. If you have any of these questions that you would want me to talk about for a few minutes in a video, I'm thinking 1 video, 3, maybe 4 questions. Me just sitting here talking about whatever I'm talking about. A simple and easy way for me to get content out. Also a way for me to kind of reply to all these questions without just doing it 3 hours into a stream that no one will ever watch. Because if you have the question, maybe someone else also has the question, you know. On the email up here, just send me an email with a question for a Q&A video. I'm going to do a bunch of them. One really soon, filming it tomorrow maybe. And then, you know, maybe doing one every couple of weeks or something like that. Just as a test. So if you have any questions, you want something, want answers from me or want my thoughts about something, I think that's cool. Easy YouTube content, could be kind of beneficial for everyone. Send me questions to that one. But yeah, using some kind of randomizer to pick 15, 16 beats out of a list wouldn't be impossible. I guess I can get AI to do that somehow. I think that's what we're doing. And then that becomes a list and I can post that. Well, next week, no submissions before stream. Everything as live as humanly possible. I will launch a competitive channel. Please do. Link me so I can check it out. Who do you find inspiring? That's a great question for the Q&A. Can I just save that instead of asking you guys to email me? Maybe that makes more sense. We have about 50 people in here. So let's go video projects, Q&A, paste that question in there. Who do you find inspiring? By Puerto Ricanism. Puerto Ricanism. Well. What about Google Drive? Yeah, what about it? For the submissions, I actually looked into that, but it's really hard for you guys to send me a file and also a message using Dropbox or Google Drive. Then it's just a file and then that's all I'm stuck with. Share a sample with the chat. I will send you back the beat. Yeah, we're gonna do that. I'm gonna make. I'm gonna hook this one up. I'm gonna play this one through a bunch of pedals, create some stuff for you guys to use as a sample for an upcoming beats review episode. That's what we're doing. That's gonna happen, but not today. So Hannibal Actor is leaving us. I am leaving you. Thanks a lot for hanging out for this week's episode of the Beat Review Show. Next week, we're doing something else on the stream. Making music, playing around with this one, you know, exploring the MPC XL even more. I don't know. Next week is not going to be a beat review. That's in 2 weeks. Right now, it's time to say goodnight and peace out and all that. Thanks a lot for sending beats. I didn't get through all of them today, which is unfortunate, but that's what it is, and that's what it's going to be. Next week, as I said, no submissions before stream. Everything as live as possible. I'm going to tell you all about that in the stream and also post something somewhere. Gonna make more videos, gonna work on stuff. It feels like I'm back in business after the launch of the XL and making videos on that. This audio interface and the Chaos Pad feels like I'm back in business. It feels good. Today, it's been a great episode of Beat Review. Thanks a lot for submitting. Thanks a lot for hanging out. Thanks a lot for watching. And honestly, I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Most of you, I'm pretty sure. We're getting some regulars in, and I love that. So, thanks a lot. And as we always say,